Hey, Bruce Naylor here, the Boomer Consumer, and I'm back. Um, Long story short, my wife got really sick over Thanksgiving and the holidays, but been taking care of her. But it's time to jump back in and start creating some more content. And recently, I reviewed the Nobsound, I believe it was the B100 hybrid integrated amplifier, which is a tube-based integrated amp. And I had a few qualms with it. And Nobsound sent me their A3. This is again, another hybrid tube amplifier. Now, one thing I got wrong in that prior review was that I thought it was a tube-based preamp and a Class D power amp. But it turns out it was also an AB. And so is the Nobsound A3. It is a hybrid tube-based preamp with a solid state power amplifier. So wanted to talk about that just briefly and get that out of there. So I really did want to share this video because I think this is affordable. I think it's really good looking and it's got a lot of features and I think it sounds really, really good and it's priced just under $200. Now, I want to let you know that Nobsound sent this to me at no cost for review. I have all opinions of my own. No one's reviewed this video prior to posting, so you have that. So why a tube amplifier to begin with? Well, a lot of people will tell you that tubes have a more warm musical sound than a solid state amplifier. And because this is a hybrid, most of the tube type of sound is going to come from that tube-powered preamplifier. So you're maybe 80-90% of the way there of the sound of a all-tube amplifier. At least that is the prevailing opinion on that. Now, this is going to be ideal, I think, for what I call desk-fi, okay, which is, putting this little amp on your desktop, pairing it with some speakers, and there you go. And this has a whole bunch of different inputs. So on the desktop, maybe in a small den, maybe connected to a TV via optical. So you got all these different ways to use it, but I think ideally this is more of a near field type of device. So for a very small room, maybe connected to a TV, something along those lines. So let's talk about the specifications, a little bit of the Nobsound A3. It is a Class AB with tube preamp, solid state power amplification. The construction is aluminum alloy, so it is very, very well made. As far as power, it's 25 watts into 8 ohms, 35 into 4. I do recommend that you use some sensitive speakers to pair with it. I use, for example, the Klipsch RP41Ms, but I also tested with the KEF Q150s, and it did a really good job of getting nice and loud. More, I think, louder than what a lot of people is going to listen to. You get a VU meter. Who doesn't love to watch those things dance around, right? As far as inputs on there, you get USB for like a USB thumb drive. And I did try connecting my Mac Mini directly to it via USB. The Mac Mini didn't recognize it at all, so I wasn't able to test it directly connected to a computer. I don't really think it'll work that way, but I might be wrong. If you know, put the answer in the comments down below. Bluetooth 5.0 connected right up, no issue there. You get 2 standard RCA inputs, maybe a CD player, DVD player, something like that. You can hook up to it. In fact, I think it's marked CD and DVD, but whatever analog source you want to plug into it. Optical and coax inputs. There's also a subwoofer out. Now, as far as the tubes are concerned, you get 2 PCS 13 P1Ps and 2 PCS 60P or 6P 16A. So you got that. As far as the headphone outputs on there, supports up to 16 to 600 ohms. Is 1.5 watts at 32 ohms. Not super powerful. It's not going to drive the really demanding headphones, but I think for general purpose stuff, it's just going to be fine. Comes with a nice little simple remote plastic, but it does the job. It works well. Let's talk about the built-in DAC for just a minute. The DAC is 16-bit, 48 kilohertz tops, all right? It's okay. It's not great, but it is serviceable. I'll put it to you that way. You know, the tubes, they look nice. They use LED light effects. One thing I did like is the tubes were pre-installed. So let's take a tour of the front. So on the front, you have the infrared remote, or infrared for the remote, the power button, an input selector, your headphone out, VU meter, you get a USB input, previous and next song buttons, and that is what's on the front. Now on the back, you get an optical input, a subwoofer output, a coax in, 2 RCA inputs, speaker binding posts, the power input, the voltage switch, and that is what's on the back. And one of my big things about the B100, I think it's a Nobsound B100, was that the power switch was located on the rear. The headphone jack was located on the rear. This has all been fixed with the A3. So kudos to Nobsound for, making these a little bit more user-friendly. How do I test this? So I've had it for a little over a month, and I've got a plethora of demo tracks that I listened to. And so just some of the ones that I used was Amber Rhubar's Sessions from the 17th Ward. That's a Chesky recording, and it's just an absolutely brilliant album. And I've never listened to Amy Winehouse before, but I got a hold of her CD called Frank. And wow, I was definitely impressed. It's just very melodic. It's just beautiful melodies on there. She's a fantastic singer, and it just sounded really, really great. Now, for some good old rock and roll, one of my favorite go-tos is Bachman Turner Overdrive's Not Fragile. Taking care of business. Just was it Rock Is My Life? These are just some of the tunes. It's just one of my favorite go-to albums. But I'm not going to do the usual audiophile jargon thing, because I consider myself just a practical audiophile. I got a budget, just like most of you folks have a budget. So I tend to stick with more mainstream and affordable audio gear, right? And the audiophile jargon, I don't know. Different words mean different things to different people, so I'll try to keep that to a bare minimum for you. So I'm going to start rating things on a 1 to 5 star scale. So I give a star for fiddliness. What does fiddliness mean? It means, is it difficult to operate and get to use the features on the device, set up, and using it? Okay, that's what I mean by fiddliness. I do a star for the build quality of the device. How well is it made? I do a star for the feature set of the device. Another star for how competitive it is in the marketplace. And finally, and the most subjective, is for the sound quality. Now, how do I judge sound? Okay. This is where I'm going to avoid the audiophile jargon stuff, right? I measure either bad, which gives 0 stars. And bad to me is like an AM radio. Okay, which is like my car's stereo. So I give maybe a half a star for that. And finally, great. Full 1 star, because it sounds really good. It's like my HIFI rig. So bad, okay, good, and, great. That's kind of how I look at it. So let's get in how I am rating the A3. First off, it does correct most of my complaints about the Nobsound 100. Now, as far as fiddliness is concerned, not too difficult to use. And I like the pre-installed tubes. That's a nice touch. So I give it 1 star for that. Now, on to build quality. It's got a nice solid build. It's got an aluminum case on it. And you know what? It looks really cool at night. So I give it 1 star for that. So 2 stars so far. Features. All right. I think it offers a lot for the money, right? You got a lot of inputs on there. The downfall is going to be in that build it back. I just don't think it's very good. You know, it supports 16-bit up to 48 kilohertz. And I mean, that's okay. That's CD quality. And I think that's going to be more than adequate for most people. But it just didn't quite sound right to me. It sounded a little thin, a little anemic. Moving on, though, I think it does offer a lot of value for the money with all these inputs. But because the DAC isn't that great and it lacks tone controls, I'm only going to give it a 0.5 star. Now, as far as competitiveness in the marketplace, there's more powerful integrated tube hybrids for slightly more money than the A3. One in particular is the Dayton Audio HTA 100. So I feel that it's in the area, it's in the ballpark, but I think there is possibly better performing and more features available for slightly more or a little bit more money. But this still can hold its own with the best of them. So I'm going to give it a 0.5 star as far as competitive goes. Now, sound quality. I paired this with the Q150s and the Klipsch R41Ms. And I think it sounded really, really good. All right. So the sound that I did get from it on both sets of speakers, it's punchy, a lot of detail, very dynamic. So, yeah, it's good. And as far as the headphone output was concerned, they're okay. I think you're probably better served if headphones is your vibe. You're probably better off looking at a dedicated headphone amplifier as opposed to the built-in unit. But it's serviceable, and you have to keep in mind this is a $200 device. So I'm going to go ahead and give it 1 star for that. So we get a total of 4 out of 5 stars. So the bottom line is this is definitely, I think, worth your consideration. If you're looking for a nice little tube hybrid amplifiers, maybe you're curious about tubes, you want to get started with them. Maybe you're looking for a gift for somebody, maybe for a college student, or maybe put in a kid's bedroom, or if you want to use it at night with a TV because the cool looking VU meter and the tubes look really cool. So I think if you really dig the look of tubes and the sound of tubes, well, I think this is going to get you most of the way there, as opposed to a fully based tube integrated amplifier. And that's it. That is my review of the Nobsound A3 hybrid tube integrated amplifier. For a standard Boomer Consumer, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.